This week in the field, a few tips on how to work photography into your family vacations. Hi everyone, I'm Scott Davenport. Welcome to In the Field. Thanks for joining me today. Before I go into today's topic real quick, Spring 2019 workshops will be announced within a couple of weeks. And if you want to find out about them earlier, head on over to my website and sign up for my newsletter. Subscribers to my newsletter get the inside track on workshops. You hear about it there first. If you're interested in joining me in the spring of next year, go on over there, get yourself signed up, and check out what workshops I have coming down the pike. Now, today's topic is kind of travel themed. You know, we're doing some traveling in this episode. When you go on a family vacation, and this is a question I get asked often because I travel a fair amount and often with my family. So how do you work your photography into a family vacation, which is typically not a photo trip? You know, how can you get some of these either iconic shots or just those photos that you want to spend the time and craft with? You know, what's the right balance to strike? So I got a few tips for you. Let's go through them. Tip number one is heading out really early or going back out really late. This is one of the techniques I'll use to get those types of shots that I want to spend the time with. Either it's an iconic location or it's someplace that I know I'm going to want to spend, 45 minutes, an hour, and the rest of my family would be bored at that point. I don't want to make them bored. So this might involve a little bit of sleep deprivation, especially for those morning ones where I'll go out first thing before sunrise. The rest of the family is still sleeping soundly. I head out, I go and get my photos, and then come back and do a day's worth of vacationing. And so yeah, a little groggy at the end of those days, but they're worth it. Same thing on the opposite end of the day. Once dinner's finished, the evening activities are done, and people are heading to turn into to call it a day, I'll head back out and do another photo. And I got a couple examples of that. This photo here was taken in Lagos, Portugal. This is well after sunset. I want to say this was like 10 or 10:30 p.m. and I wanted to go and spend some quiet time with one of these grottos. So I left where we were staying and I hiked the 20-minute walk or so it was to get to this area, and came away with some nice photos with some great moonlight. Here's another example. This is in Rome, the Castle St. Angelo. I went out first thing in the morning. So, the sub trains or the metros or whatever run starting around 5:30 in the morning in Rome. I was able to get the first one, get down to this area, and, take a shot before the sun came up. Now, was I tired at the end of both of those days? Sure, of course I was. But I came away with the photos that I like, and I've slept since. So, it was a good way to balance the time to spend with the family, which is not about photography, and carving out a pocket of time that was about photography for me. Well, tip number two is negotiating time up front. So you plan out your vacation, right? What are you going to go see? What are you going to go do? What restaurants are you going to eat at? What are the attractions in the city or the country that you're going to visit? And you do all of those types of planning. But talk about the photography aspect of it with your family and find out, can you work that into part of your normal day trip? And I've got a couple of examples of how that worked out for vacations for me. My family and I went to Japan, and one of the things we don't particularly like as a family is crowds. So I was able to negotiate with the family to go and see the Sensoji Temple, which this is about 7:30 in the morning, before the crowds come in. And it was great because we all got to wander around, and it turned out that the family had a great time there. There were a whole bunch of different things to see and do, and we weren't getting inundated with, the busloads of people that start to come in as the day and the morning progresses. Here's another example, also from Japan. This was like one of my bucket list shots. It's this beautiful waterfall and this temple up in the hills of the Wakayama region. Well, I needed to get there, and that was not something that you could just take, a metro to. So we worked it into part of our day trip. This was more or less high noon. Thankfully there was some cloud cover, so the photo itself wasn't completely washed out. But just worked it into part of our tour. And here's one more example. This is from Korea in the old capital of Gyeongju. And at the evening time, they light up this various areas and some of the old palaces and buildings. And so we made that into an event for the family to go see. We went out and saw the lights, and everyone enjoyed it. I was able to get several nice photos as a result. So talk with your family up front and figure out, see if there's one or two places that you really, really, really want to photograph. work it into your trip. Tip number 3 is being nimble. When you are going out for your daily outings with the family, it's not about the photography anymore. It's about spending time with your family. Sure, you'll be taking pictures of each other, and when you're standing in front of iconic places or enjoying a meal, all that kind of stuff just happens. But your inner photographer is going to want to find those other photo opportunities. You got to keep it light, though. I'll bring one body and one lens for walking around, a city or, tooling around for a day with the family. Everything else just stays locked up in the hotel safe. And I'll take my most versatile lens. For me right now, that's a 24-70. If you got a 24-105, that's even better. I had an 18-200, which was awesome when I shot Nikon. And you just you'll pick you pick your battles, so to speak. You don't want to be bringing all the extra gear with you. Just stay loose and nimble. And in addition to taking photos of your family, you might find a couple of photo opportunities. Got this one here where I just took. This is outside of the cathedral in Barcelona. I think the Barcelona Cathedral. And we were just walking by, stopped, 15 seconds, lined up, took the shot, and moved on with our walking tour. And that was all I needed to come away with, one of my favorite photos, other than the family, of that trip. Similar walking through Seville. Here's a shot of just a portion of the inside of one of the bullfighting rings, one of the more famous ones there. And again, we're part of an actual tour at this point, because there'll be tours that'll show you around the bull ring. They're not going to want some guy with a tripod setting up and doing all this sort of stuff. Now, that's just not how it's going to work. Staying nimble, taking a few photos and moving on. With the tripod, one exception would be this guy here, the platypod. Taking one of these, putting it in your day pack. You're probably carrying around, something to carry, a bottle of water, maybe a snack. They're just so small and light. You can pop it in your bag. You barely know it's there. And if you do find that one place where, wow, I really want to set up something where the camera can be stable for longer than I can handhold, platypod's a really good option for that type of shot. Well, there's no tip of the week this week. I just gave you 3 tips, so you got 3 tips of the week. And hopefully you'll find those useful the next time you're traveling when it's not about photography. It's a family vacation, maybe it's a business trip, any particular reason where you're not going full on into photographer mode. But remember these things and you'll still find some really good photo opportunities. That will do it for this week's In the Field. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, please let me know. Comments below. Reach out to me through my website if you want to keep it private. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport, and happy shooting.